everyone, this is Sahite on behalf of Edureka, and I welcome you to this session on Automation Anywhere examples. So in this session guys, we'll mainly focus on the different kinds of automation you can do with Automation Anywhere. So without any further ado, let's get started with this session. So before I start with this session, let me take you through the topics for today's session. So we'll start today's session by understanding what is Automation Anywhere, and then I'll talk a little bit about the Automation Anywhere features. After that, I'll get into the main topic, that is the Automation Anywhere examples, where we'll mainly look into two subtopics, that is the basic examples, where we'll talk about the different commands that can be used to automate simple tasks. And then I'll also show you how you can do Excel automation and PDF automation. So I hope I'm clear with the agenda. So let's get started with the session. So starting with Introduction to Automation Anywhere, what do you think Automation Anywhere is? Well, as it's evident that Automation Anywhere is nothing but an RPA tool whose motive is to provide its users scalable, secure, and resilient services. This tool has also recently launched a community edition that is basically a free trial edition that you can use for lifetime, and you can explore the tool as much as possible. Apart from the community edition, this tool also offers an enterprise edition which has a 30-day free trial, and after the trial you can use it for enterprise levels. So if you have to summarize Automation Anywhere, then Automation Anywhere is a summation of robotic process automation plus cognitive automation plus workforce analytics. So when you combine all these three terms together, that is nothing but Automation Anywhere. So in simple terms, Automation Anywhere is one of the top tools in the RPA industry that you can use and learn to upskill yourself in your career and also become an RPA developer. So with that, let's look into the different features of Automation Anywhere. So the different features of Automation Anywhere are, as you can see on my screen, that is logging, scheduling tasks, setting general properties, using filters, debugging tasks, and adding triggers. So starting with logging, so when I say logging, I mean that you can use the log to create a log file in which a task bot or a meta bot information can be stored. Coming to scheduling tasks, Automation Anywhere provides a scheduler and a schedule manager that you can use to run your tasks anytime that you want. And with the help of both these options, you can schedule your task and you don't need manual workforce to take care of that task because that task will be scheduled and automatically it will happen. Coming to setting general properties, you can view and edit the task general properties by using the general tab once you're done editing the task or once you're done creating the task. So once you're done creating the task, you can definitely set and edit your general properties. Moving on to the next feature, that is using filters. So when I say using filters, I mean that you can use the filters bar to manage long and humongous tasks, right? So it can always happen that you want to automate large tasks, right? Then you can use filters. Coming to debugging tasks, Automation Anywhere provides a facility that enables you to debug your more and complex longer tasks. So for example, if you have a large humongous task and you see an error coming up, so you can resolve that error by using this debugging option in such a way that you can see step-to-step execution, and then you can exactly identify which step is causing the error. And finally, moving on to the last feature, that is adding triggers. So the trigger features enables a task to run automatically in response to an event that occurs on your computer. So for example, you can use a trigger when a new window opens or a specific file is created. So guys, these were few features of Automation Anywhere. I hope I was clear to you guys. Now let's just move forward with our next topic, that is the main topic for the session, that is the Automation Anywhere examples. So in this session, mainly I'll be focusing on two subtopics in the examples. In the first part of the section, I'll be talking about the different action commands that you can use to automate simple tasks. And in the next section, I'll show you how you can perform Excel automation and PDF automation. So starting with the first section, as you can see on my screen, we're going to discuss these few commands, and then I'm going to show you how you can use these few commands to automate simple tasks. So we're going to start by discussing the Windows action, the mouse clicks, string operations, files and folders, web recorders, optical character recognition, keystrokes, and REST web services. So starting with Windows actions first. So basically when I talk about Windows actions, guys, I mean that you have an option in the Automation Anywhere client where you can automate tasks related to your windows, like closing a window, opening a window. Maybe you want to resize a window. You can also maximize a window or minimize a window. So that's what we're going to do. So in our problem statement, what we're going to do is we're going to get the title of the active window, right? So to get that, you got to follow a few steps. So let me just take you through the steps first, and then I'll show you on my Automation Anywhere client. So what you have to do is first you have to drag the Windows Actions command into your workspace, and then you'll have to choose Get Active Window Title from there. After that, you have to assign a variable to store the retrieved window title, and then you can drop a message box into your workspace with a variable inside it so that it displays the output. So let's get started. So I'll just open my Automation Anywhere client. So this is my Automation Anywhere client. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the option New, and then I'm going to choose Workbench. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, get the active window title. So for that, you have to first search for Windows Actions. Choose the option of, get active window title, drag and drop it over here. Or what you can do is you can directly drag and drop the Windows Actions, and then you can choose an option from here. So initially I just dragged and dropped the get active window title, so I didn't have to do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign a variable, right? So I'm going to select the predefined variables, that is a system variable. So I'm going to select the clipboard variable and click on save. Now once I click on save, what I want to do is I want to display the output in a message box, right? So I'm going to search for a message box, and then I'm going to drag and drop it over here. Over here, I'm going to press on Control F2 and mention my variable. So I had assigned it to the clipboard variable, right? So I'll search for clipboard variable and click on Insert. Now once this is done, I'll save my task. So let's say Windows Actions, and then I'll click on Save, and now I'll run. So as you can see, my task has been executed and we get the active window title, that is the runtime window, right? That's because that particular window is active right now. So that's how guys you can get your active window title. Apart from that, we have also various other options like activate window, close window, maximize, minimize, and resize a window. So let's consider a scenario where we want to resize a window to any size that we wish to, right? So any dimension that we wish to. So for that, what you have to do is you have to again drag and drop Windows Actions command into your workspace and then choose the resize window command. After that, you'll have to select the window for which you want to resize a window, and then you'll have to click on capture and drag your mouse over the dimensions that you want the window to be resized. So let's just do that. So for that, what we're going to do is I'm just going to remove this part. Now what we're going to do is, let's say we want to resize the window of a notepad file, right? So I've already opened a notepad file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop the resize window command over here, and then I'm going to select the window, right? So I can just select the window, that is my notepad file. Now I'll click on capture, and then I'll capture of how much ever size that I want. For example, if we just want from here to here, so basically we want the dimensions of the notepad to be of the selected dimensions, right? So I just want the dimension to be so small. I'll drag my mouse and then I'll select the dimension. Once you just leave your mouse click, you'll see that automatically dimensions will be there on your dialog box. After that, I'll click on save, and then I'll again save this task, and then I'll click on run. So once I click on run, you can see that my task has got executed and the initial notepad file was reduced to this size that we selected. So guys, this was how you can just resize a window. Well, obviously you can also maximize, minimize, and close the window. For example, if you want to maximize the window, then you choose the option of maximizing a window, and then you select the window which you want to maximize and click on save and execute the task. So once you'll execute the task, you'll see that your window has been maximized. So same goes with how you want to minimize a window or close a window or even activate a window. So that was about Windows Actions, guys. Now let's move forward with the next topic, that is mouse clicks. So when I talk about mouse clicks, I mean that you can automate the task of where do you want to click on an application, or where do you want to click on a window. So for example, if you want to just close a file, or for example if you want to minimize a file, you can just automate this task by choosing the option of insert mouse clicks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to automate the task of clicking at a specific position of the window. Let's say we're going to do it for notepad file. So to do that, you'll have to follow a few steps. So basically, you'll have to drag the insert mouse clicks command into the workspace and then select the window. So over here, I'm going to show you for notepad. So I'm going to select the notepad and then I'll click on capture. So basically, I'll have to click on capture and then hover my mouse over the close symbol or the minimize or the maximize symbol according to what I want to do. And then I'll click on save. So let's just do the same. For that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this part over here. And then in the same task file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for insert mouse clicks. I'm going to search for insert mouse clicks over here, drag and drop it over here. Next, I'll just refresh it so that all my active windows are visible in the drop down list. And then you can see I have a notepad file, right? So I'll select that notepad file. I'll click on capture and drag my mouse over the close button, right? So you saw how that's happening. And then I'll click on save. right? So basically that's how you can see in your preview that this particular file would be saved. Now I'll just save this task again and click on run. So as I click on run, you can see that my task got executed and my notepad file got closed. So guys, that's how you can use the insert mouse clicks. It's really simple to use these mouse clicks. I just showed you for a notepad file. For example, you can also define it for an application where you want to click on a specific application and then you want the click to go somewhere else, right? So you can use all these kinds of simple actions in loop actually. So for example, if you're searching for something on Stack Overflow, right, and then you want to search something based on your tags, so what you can do is you can just go to the launch website activity, or you can also go to the web recorder where you're going to record something. For that, what you can do is you can just use the web recorder, then mention the URL. The URL will open. Now what you want to do is you want to specify your search according to tags, right? So for that, again, you can mention that in the search bar. So you basically have to click on the search bar, right? So for that, you can use the insert mouse activity, and then you can make sure what you want to type. Again, you'll have to press on enter, right? So for that, either you can use the keystroke or you can use the insert mouse click to click on the arrow on the right side. So that's how you can use a combination of different actions or commands together to automate a large humongous task. Well, in this session, I'm going to focus on simple tasks so that you understand how to use this task mainly, and then we'll combine all these actions and look into the Excel and the PDF automation. On that note, let's move forward with the next operation, that is the string operations. So as we all know, string operations are really important in today's market because all programming languages or all automation tools, everything is related to string operations. So in such scenarios, string operations are really important to use. In Automation Anywhere, if you look at the client, I'll just open and show you that when you search for string operations, you can see that you have various operations on the left hand side. That is basically the before, after, compare, find, join, length, lowercase, replace, reverse, split, substring, trim, uppercase, right? So basically by that, what I mean is you can either compare two strings, or you can find a specific string, or you can convert a string from lowercase to uppercase. Maybe you want to just find the substring from a string and replace some values from the specific strings and so on. So you can do different kinds of operations. Today in this session, we'll focus on how you can automate the task of comparing two strings. So the steps are really simple to compare two strings. You first have to assign two strings to two different variables. Then you have to drag the string operation command, and then you have to choose the compare command. After that, in the string 1 section, you have to mention the variable for the string 1, and in the string 2 section, you have to mention the variable for string 2. Then you'll have to assign a variable for the output, and then you can use the message box to display the output. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shift back to my workbench over here, and then what I'll do is I'll just delete this part. Now what I'll do is I'll drag and drop the string operation for compare. But before that, what we have to do is we'll have to assign two variables, right? So for that, what I'll do is I'll go to the variable manager, add two variables, right? So let's say I add a variable str1, and let's say value will be hi from Edureka, and then I'll click on save. Then I'll again add a variable str2, let's say welcome to Edureka, and then I'll click on save. Now what I'll do is I'll drag and drop the compare command, and then in the string 1 section I'll mention str1, right? So for that, I'll press on Ctrl F2, mention str1, and click on insert. Similarly, in the string 2 section, I'll mention str2, so I'll press on Ctrl F2, I'll choose str2 and click on insert. After that, I'll select a variable to assign the output. Let's say we choose clipboard, and then I'll click on save. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for a message box, and then I'll mention the output variable, that was clipboard. I'll click on save. Once I'm done, I'll save this task, and then I'll execute. So you can see the output as false, right? That was because both our strings were different. Our string 1 was hi from Edureka, and string 2 was welcome to Edureka, right? So since both the strings were different, our output was false. Else, if our string was same, then the output would be true. So let me just show you that scenario also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this variable. Let's say we just mentioned Edureka, and click on save. Over here also, I'm going to just mention Edureka, and then I'll click on save. Then again, I'll save this task, and then I'll execute. So as you can see the output is true. That was because both the strings had the same string, that was Edureka. So that's how, guys, you can use the string operation to compare two strings. Now let's look into one more scenario of the string operations. That is how we can automate the task of replacing a substring from a string. So for example, in the string of Edureka, let's say we want to replace edu to something else like say tech, right? So how do you replace that? So for that, it's really simple. Again, you'll have to follow the steps that you can see on my screen. That is, you first have to assign the source strings, find and replace values to 3 different variables. After that, you have to drag the string operation command and choose the replace command. In the source section, you'll have to mention the source variable, and then in the find and replace section, you'll have to mention the find and the replace variables where you basically find from a specific string, that is basically edu that we're going to find, and then we're going to replace it with tech. After that, we'll assign the output to the variable and then drag a message box to display the output. So let's just do the same. So for that, what we'll do is I'll just remove this part, and then I'll again search for string operations, and then I'll drag and drop replace. When I drag and drop replace, you can clearly see that we need 3 variables, that is the source string, find and replace. So initially, if you do not want to use variables, then you can also just mention the text. Let's say I want to mention the text Edureka, and then I'll mention edu in the find section and replace it with tech. And then what I'll do is I'm going to assign the output to a variable. Let's say we assign the output to clipboard variable, and then I'll click on save. After that, I'll drag a message box, mention the output variable, and click on save again. After that, I'll save this task and click on run. So basically, from our string Edureka, we had to find edu, and then that had to be replaced with tech. That's what got replaced. The output is techreka. That is basically, I just replaced edu to tech. So that's how, guys, you can replace strings. Well, guys, these were only 2 operations that I showed you with strings. Well, you can explore more, and then you can play around with a lot of string operations, even in the complex automations. Now let's move forward with our next command, that is basically files and folders. So files and folders are also one of the most important topics that need to be covered in any automation tool. So as all of us deal with any n number of files every day, we have so many files and folders stored in our local systems and maybe even on the cloud and so on, right? So how do you think we can automate this task of transferring files and folders automatically from one folder to another folder, and maybe if you just want to zip a folder or unzip a folder and so on? So I'm going to do the same. So what I'm going to do is initially I'm going to show you how you can move files from the source to destination. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose 2 folders, basically the source folder and the destination folder. Now the source folder will have n number of files. Basically those files we want to move from source folder to destination folder. So I'm going to drag the copy folder command to the workspace and mention the directory of the source folder in the source section and the destination folder in the destination section. And then I'll click on save. So let's just do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this part. Now what I'm going to do is let me just open and show you the folders basically. So guys, this is my source folder. Now what I want to do is I want all the files to be moved from the source folder to the destination folder. Basically I want to copy all the files from source to destination. So for that what I'll do is I'll drag and drop the copy folder section, and then I'll mention the path of the source folder and the destination folder, right? I'm going to browse, mention desktop, and then in demo I'm going to choose for source. And again in desktop I'll go for demo and choose destination. After that I'll click on save, and then I'll just execute this task. So as you can see, my task has got executed. So I'll just go back to my destination folder, and then you can see that in the destination folder we have the source folder in which all the files are present. So that's how, guys, you can copy files from a specific folder to another folder. Now apart from this, I'm also going to show you a scenario where we want to zip a file. So to zip a file, it's really simple. Again, you have to drag and drop the zip files command into your workspace, then specify the files you want to compress, and then specify the destination zip file and click on save. So let's just do that. So I'll just delete this part. I'll drag and drop the zip file section. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify what I want to zip. For example, let's say I want to zip the source folder itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the destination zip file. So I'm going to go for browse, and then let's say we mention sample and then open. So basically all our files will be compressed from the source folder and will be stored into the destination zip folder, that is the sample zip file. Then I'll click on save, and then I'll save the task, and then I'll click on run. And my task has got executed. Now, when I open my sample zip file, you can clearly see that, this particular source folder is been zipped into the sample zip file. That is basically a destination zip file. So guys, that's how, you can use the files and folders command. Well, over here, I just showed you two commands related to files and folders. Well, there are n number of other commands that you can use, and then you can play around with it. Now let's move forward with the next command, that is the web recorders. So web recorders, as the name suggests, mainly, deal with how you can record data from websites, or maybe how you can store and extract data from websites. So I'm going to do the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to consider a table which is on a website, basically on a URL, and then I'm going to save that particular table to a CSV file. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to go to the web recorders activity, choose the extract table command, and then you'll have to mention the URL and click on launch. After that, you'll have to click on the capture table, then store the captured table in a CSV file and click on save. So that's what I'm going to do. So let me just shift back to my Automation Anywhere workbench. I'll remove this part. Now what I'll do is I'll search for the web recorders activity over here. So let me just go to W. And then as you can see, we have various options like, opening a browser, closing a browser, maybe managing web controls, downloading, extracting table, finding broken links, extracting data, navigating URL, extracting source, search by caption, go back and execute JavaScript functions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract a table, right? So for that, I'll drag and drop the extract table command, and then I'll mention the URL. So let's say, we want to extract this table. So for that, what we'll do is I'll mention this particular URL. So I'll copy this URL from here. I'll mention it over here. I'll click on launch. So when I click on launch, it will automatically open in an Internet Explorer by default. So as you can see, my website has launched on my Internet Explorer. Now what you have to do is you'll have to click on capture table, and then you'll have to search for the tables that you want to capture. So for example, I want to capture this particular table. So I'll click over here, and then you'll see that, automatically the table would be captured. So what I want to do is that I want the extracted data, that is basically the extracted table, to be stored in a CSV file. So for that, I'll click on browse. I'll choose my CSV file. And then I'll just choose the option of view extracted table. That is basically a second table that was chosen. That is the differences between UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. Since I just viewed this table, I'll just click on save. And then what I'll do is I'll save this task, and then I'll click on run. So as you can see, my task has got executed. So let me just open my data.csv file. So as you can see that, our table has been extracted. So that was the difference between UiPath, Blue Prism, and Automation Anywhere. And you can see how the data has been extracted to a CSV file. So that's how, guys, you can use the web recorders to extract the table data into a CSV file. Now also what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another scenario where we're going to find the broken links on a website. So to find the broken links on a website, what you simply have to do is you have to again drag and drop the web recorders activity and choose the find broken links command. After that, you have to mention the URL, choose the option of, either testing the entire website or testing the specified web page only, and then you have to mention the path of the output file and click on save. So we'll do the same. So what I'm going to do is I'll go back to my Automation Anywhere workbench. I'll delete this part, and then I'll drag and drop the find broken links. So let's say, we want to mention the URL. Let's say we check for our interview questions, right? So I'm going to search for interview questions of the Edureka domain, and then I'm going to search for test entire website. After that, I'm going to save the output data in a CSV file. Let's say we save it in data and click on save. So initially, I'll just close this file, and then I'll click on save, and then finally I'll execute this task. So as you can see, my task is getting executed, and all the broken links will be found out and will be collected. So as you can see, it is happening on my screen. So let's just wait for it to complete. Alright, so as you can see, a lot of links have been tested. So I'm just going to stop this automation at this moment, and I'm going to show you the output for how many of the links that have been tested. So let me just close this automation over here. Right, and then I'll open my CSV file. So as you can see that, basically there are two columns, that is the URL link and the status. So basically the URLs that have been checked are, around in hundreds, and then few are successful, few have an error, that is basically method is not allowed, 404 error, and the others are successful. So that's how, guys, you can find the broken links through the web recorders. So these are two commands that I talked about. Well, you can explore the rest. Almost all the other commands are really same. So for example, if you just want to download a file, you drag and drop this option of downloading a file. Then you choose the download file URL and then you save the file as whatever file type that you want. You can use the navigate URL to navigate to a specific URL. You can use the go back command to go back to a specific URL. And you can use the manage web controls to manage the other web controls and so on. So guys, that was about web recorders. Now moving on to our next command, that is OCR. So OCR is nothing but the optical character recognition, which is mainly used when you want to extract text from an image or a window, and then you can capture either a specific area or a window itself. So we're going to do the same. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to go to the OCR activity, capture the capture area command, because we're going to capture a specific area. And then you choose the window. So basically you can either choose an image or maybe you can choose a notepad file or any other application that you wish to. After that, you have to choose the OCR engine, and Tesseract is chosen by default, and then you'll have to assign a value to an existing variable and then click on save. So we'll do the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Automation Anywhere workbench, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop the capture area command. After that, I'll just choose the window. Let's say we choose the notepad window. So in the notepad, you can see that I have few text available. So we're going to extract the specific text. So after that, I'll choose capture area. I'll capture the area. Let's say I want to capture from here to here. So basically, if you observe, I'm not capturing the text after follows, right? So basically, I'm going to capture the benefits of automation are, and after that, we're going to mention all the benefits. So I'm going to capture this particular area. Then I'm going to view the captured text. So as you can see, it's loading, and you can see that the captured text is the benefits of automation anywhere are basically XYZ benefits, right? Now after this, what I'll do is I'll assign a variable to store the value. So let's say I assign the variable to be clipboard and click on save. Right? After that, I'll click on save, and then let's say we use a message box to display an output. So I'll drag and drop a message box, and then I'll mention the variable and click on save. After that, I'll save this task and click on run. So you can see that my task is getting executed, and you can see that the text has been extracted. So obviously this is not in proper format because we had bullet points there and we captured only a specific area, right? So it completely depends on what area that you want to capture, and even if you want to capture the complete window, which window do you want to capture, what would give you the most apt extracted values, and so on. So that was about OCR, guys. So now let's move forward with our next command, that is the keystrokes command. So the keystrokes are basically those commands which deal with your keyboard. So for example, when you're mentioning a text, you want some text characters to be maybe uppercase, and maybe you want two sentences in two different lines, right? So you can automate this complete task using the keystrokes. So what we have to do is you'll have to drag and drop the insert keystrokes command and select the window where you want to mention the text. After that, you can mention the text with keystrokes and click on save. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my Automation Anywhere workbench. I'm going to delete these steps. I'm going to remove text from over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop the insert keystrokes command, and over here I'll select a window, let's say notepad. Now let's say we mention hi from Edureka, and then we mention caps lock over here, and then we mention enter. So basically we want to go to the next line, so we'll mention enter over here. Now after that we'll mention welcome to this session, right? And then I'll click on save, and then I'll save this task again, and then I'll execute this task. So you can see that hi from Edureka, so Edureka came in caps, and after that everything also came in caps because we mentioned caps lock before Edureka, right? So welcome to the session is also in caps. So that's how, guys, you can use the keystrokes command and automate the task. Now let's move forward with our final automation for this particular section, that is the REST web services. So the REST web services basically deal with websites and basically deal with JSON files. So what you can do is you can extract the data from a JSON file and also display it in a message box. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the REST web service and mention the URL of the JSON API. After that, I'm going to mention the get method so that we get the data, and then we assign the data to a variable. After that, we're going to drop a message box to display the output. So let's just shift back to my Automation Anywhere workbench. And what I'll do is I'll just open the URL and show you first. So as you can see, this is my JSON API. Basically, I have stored it on my GitHub account. So this is a JSON file that I have. So I'm going to use this particular URL, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop the REST web services over here. Then I'm going to mention the URL, and over here I'll have to mention the method get so that we get the data. After we mention the get method, what you have to do is you'll have to mention the response variable. So basically go to the response section, mention the variable. Let's say we choose the predefined variable to be clipboard and click on save. After that, we can use a message box to display the output. So I'll just use the message box. Press on Ctrl F2 and then mention clipboard. Click on insert and click on save. After that, I'll save this task and then click on run. So once I click on run, you can see that my JSON data has been extracted and stored into the message box, right? So this was that I stored it into a message box. Basically, I just wanted to display the output. Well, you can definitely store the JSON file into any other files like a text document, or maybe you want to store it in any other kind of documents like a PDF document. Also, you can definitely do that. So that's how, guys, you can use this REST web services. So I hope all of you have understood this basic examples and understood how you can use these different commands to to do different kinds of automation. Now let's just look into something more interesting, that is the Excel automation and PDF automation. Well, I was stressing about Excel automation and PDF automation because in many companies, manual workforce is employed to do simple tasks that can be automated in Excel or PDF. So to use manual workforce in a better way and use their intelligence so that they can benefit their organization in a better way, we can definitely automate the redundant task in both Excel and PDFs. So we'll start with Excel automation first. So the problem statement for our Excel automation is basically that we want to extract the data from an Excel file according to some specific condition that I'm going to talk about, and after that we're going to store the extracted data into another Excel file. So for example, if you have two Excel files, let's say A and B. Now A is our source file and let's say it has 10 columns. Now what we want to do is we want to consider a specific column and then we'll mention some conditions. So let's say we want to consider the second column, and let's say in the second column we got to specify a condition that let's say the value should be less than 100. So all the data present according to values in the second column which are less than 100 should be stored in the second spreadsheet, right? So that's what we're going to do. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to first open both the spreadsheets. After that, you have to start a loop for each row in Excel dataset and then drag an if clause where you mention the condition. After that, you have to use the counter variable to store the value in active cell and use the other Excel automation commands to store the data into the next cells, and then you'll have to end the loop and click on save. So we're going to do the same. So initially, let me just show you the Excel sheets. So as you can see on my screen, this is the sample data that I'm going to consider. So based on some column, let's say, we're going to consider the sales column, and let's say our condition will be, all the data of all the rows whose sales value is greater than 10,000 should be stored in our output file. So that's what we're going to do. So to do that, let me shift back to my Automation Anywhere workbench, and then I'll delete this section. So what I've done is I'm going to open a new task. Now what we have to do is our first step is to open both the spreadsheets. So for that, we'll go to open file. So for that, what we'll do is we'll go to the Excel commands and choose the option of open spreadsheet and drag and drop it over here. Now in the open spreadsheet, I've chosen default. That is basically the session name for our first spreadsheet, and then I'll mention the spreadsheet path. So sample data will be our first spreadsheet. And since our spreadsheet contains header, I'll check on contains header and click on save. Now what I'll do is I'll open the second spreadsheet. So again, I'll drag and drop it over here. Now I'll mention the default session name to be default1, and then I'll mention the spreadsheet part. Let's say output file, and click on save. Now what you have to do is you have to drag and drop the get cells command and get all the cells. For that, you'll drag and drop get cells command from the Excel command, and then mention the session name default. That is from the first spreadsheet, we want all the cells, right? So for that, we'll mention default and choose get all cells and click on save. After that, this step has to come between opening both the spreadsheets. Now what you have to do is you have to start a loop to find out for each row in the Excel dataset, right? So for each row in the Excel dataset, what we want to check is in the sales column, if the value is more than 10,000 or less than 10,000. If it's more than 10,000, then we want the data to be extracted and stored into the output file. So for that, we're going to search for loop and then choose for each row in an Excel dataset. And then what we're going to do is we're going to choose start loop, and then what we have to do is we have to mention the session name to be default. That is because we are dealing with the first spreadsheet now. And then we're going to click on save. Now what you have to do is you have to drag and drop the if else clause. So in the if else clause, if you see, you have various options, right? So I'm going to choose the variable section so that we mention a variable, and then I drag and drop it over here. So over here, what we have to do is in the if condition, you'll have to click on edit and then mention the variable. So over here, we'll have to press on Control F2 and search for Excel column. So insert. And then what you have to do is you'll have to mention the value or the variable. So we have to consider it for the sales column, right? So let's just count the column number of sales. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to search for 10. So we're going to mention 10 over here and then press on OK. Now what we have to do is we have to choose an operator. So I want to consider all the rows whose values are greater than 10,000 should be stored, right? So for that, we're going to search for the greater than operator and then mention the value to be 10,000. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on save. Now what I have to do is for each column in the data set, what I want to do is I want to extract the data and store it into a specific position in the output Excel file. So for that, we have to count the number of columns that we have. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? So we have 16 columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for loop and then I'm going to drag and drop the times command in the loop. Now in the times command, you'll have to mention basically how many times that you want the loop to be iterated. So I want it to iterate 16 times. So I'm going to choose 16 times. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on save. Now for each time the loop is iterating, what we have to do is we have to extract the data from the first spreadsheet and then store the data into a specific cell in the second spreadsheet. So for that, what you have to do is you'll have to go to the Excel command again, and then you'll have to drag and drop the set cell command. And then what you have to do is you have to set the value of the active cell and then mention the cell value to be our Excel column value and then the counter value. Basically, the counter will run 16 times, right? When the counter is 1, then it goes to the first column, gets the active cell. That is basically our value from the first row, first column, and then stores it into the first row, first column of our output file, right? So for that, we'll mention Control F2, we'll mention Excel column. And then what we'll mention is we'll mention the counter variable, right? So that's again Control F2, counter, and press on OK. And then I'll click on save. Now what you have to do is once the value has been stored in the cell of row 1, column 1, the next value has to be stored in the next column but the same row, right? So for that, you'll have to move one cell towards the right. So for that, you just choose the option of go to cell, drag and drop it over here and choose the option of one cell towards the right and click on save, right? So I'll push it before this loop. Now what I want to do is once one complete row data has been stored, it has to again come back to the beginning of the row. So for that, what you have to do is you'll have to choose the option of beginning of the row from the go to cell option. So you'll have to do it after this loop and then choose beginning of the row and click on save. Now once you go to the beginning of the row, the active cell will be the cell from the first row, first column where the data has been already stored. So to store the new data, what you have to do is you have to go one cell below. So for that, you again go to the go to cell option, drag and drop it over here and choose one cell below and click on save. So basically what's happening over here, if you see the loop, is that you first open both the spreadsheets and then what you do is you get all the cell values from the first spreadsheet. After that, you start a loop for each row in the Excel data set and then you mention the spreadsheet session name. And underneath that loop, you'll have to mention an if condition where, if the Excel column's value, basically the sales column's value, that is the column number 10, has greater than 10,000, then what you want to do is you want the loop to iterate 16 times because we have 16 columns. And for each active cell, you'll have to retrieve the data from the cell and then store it in the output file. So what you want to do is you want to store it in a proper format, right? So like the first value has been stored into the first row, first column. The second value will be stored into the first row, second column, and so on for 16 times. After that, what you want to do is you want to come back to the beginning of the row, but the next row, right? So for that, you choose the command, go to the beginning of the row of the active cell, and then go to one cell below the active cell. Now let's just, close this particular spreadsheets so that we get the output. So I'm just going to close this particular spreadsheets. I'm going to save this task. Let's say, we save the task to be Excel, and then I click on run. So once I click on run, you can see that, my task is getting executed. So all the data has been extracted from the first spreadsheet and then it has been getting stored in the second spreadsheet, right? So you can see that happening. So let's just wait for it to complete. Alright guys, so as you can see, it is automatically extracting the data from the first spreadsheet and storing the data into the second spreadsheet. So that's how guys you can do Excel automation. Well, I'm going to abrupt this automation at this moment and I'm going to continue with the session. So let me just close this automation. Now next in this session, what we're going to learn is PDF automation. Now PDF automation is also one of the most popular automations in the industry, as I was talking about before. So PDF automation is generally used, where you want to merge multiple documents into a single document, or maybe you want to extract data from multiple documents and then store it into a specific file, or maybe, you just want to extract data until a specific page in a document and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to extract the data from multiple PDF documents and then we're going to store it in a CSV file. So to do that, you'll have to follow a few steps. So first you'll have to open the spreadsheet where you want to store the data, and then you have to use the go to cell command and go to the active cell. After that, you have to use the PDF integration command, choose the extract from fields, and then you'll have to extract the specific data that you want to extract, and then use the other Excel commands to decide where you want to store the data. So let's just do that. So before I do that, let me just open my, PDF documents and show you the documents that I'm going to consider. So as you can see on my screen, these are the documents that I'm going to consider. So basically, these are receipts of few students who are studying in a school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract data like, the receipt number, the transaction ID, the student enrollment number, date, campus, student name, and then total amount, and then fee mode. So let's just extract this data. So to do that, what you have to do is first you have to go back to your Automation Anywhere workbench. Let's just, remove all this part. So our first step is to open the spreadsheet. So we're going to open the spreadsheet where we're going to store our data. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Excel command, drag and drop the open spreadsheet, and then I'm going to mention the part of the spreadsheet. Let's say, we mention the part of data. So basically, we're going to store the file into our CSV file. Now what we're going to do is we have to go to our first cell, right? That is basically our A2 cell. So let me just open that spreadsheet and show you why we are going to the A2 cell. So as you can see, this is our spreadsheet. Now why we're going to A2 cell is because, that is the first cell where we want our data to be stored. That's the reason we're going to go to the A2 cell. So to do that, what you can do is you have to drag the go to cell option and then you'll have to mention the specific cell. So we're going to mention the specific cell to be A2. And then we're going to click on save. So basically what you have designed in your automation pane is that, first it has to open the spreadsheet and then it has to go to the A2 cell. Now what you have to do is you'll have to extract some data from the PDF documents and then you'll have to store it into the spreadsheet. So before, we start extracting the data, let's create variables to do that. So we go to the variable manager and then we'll add variables. So what I want to extract is the receipt number, transaction ID, student enrollment ID, and so on. So for that, let's just create the variables. So first I'm going to create a variable for receipt number and then I'll click on save. Similarly, I'm going to create variables for the other like, transaction ID, student enrollment number, then student name. Then let's also create variables for, grade, total amount, fee mode, payment. And let's also create a variable for the campus, right? So I'm just going to create a variable for campus and click on save. So these are the various stuff that we want to extract from our PDFs. Now to start extracting data from our PDF, what we have to do is we have to design a loop. So we have to choose the loop of each file in a folder because all our PDFs are present in a folder. So for that, we'll go to loop option, then choose each file in a folder, drag and drop it over here. And then what we'll do is we'll mention the folder's name. So I'll mention sample PDF and click on OK. So for all the PDFs present in this particular folder, the data would be extracted and it would be stored into the CSV file. So we're going to do that and then we'll click on save. Now what we'll do is we'll use the PDF integration command and then we'll choose extract from fields. This is because, we want to extract specific values from the PDFs, right? So that's the reason we'll choose extract from fields. And then over here, we'll mention the PDF name. So for example, let's say we mention the first PDF name. So for that, we'll choose receipt 1, open. And then, if your PDF is encrypted, then you can mention the user password and the owner password. So for example, if I want to extract the receipt number, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add. I'm going to drag my mouse over the receipt number. And then I'm going to right click over here, choose add field and mention the field's name. So let's say we mention the field's name to be receipt number. And choose the variable where it has to be stored. So it is basically receipt number and then we'll click on OK. Now similarly, I'll click on save over here, and then I'll again click on add and choose the transaction ID. I'll right click over here again, go to add field, and then mention the field name, that is transaction ID. And then I'll choose the variable. So our variable is transaction ID for this. I'll click on OK and save. Similarly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my mouse over the student enrollment ID. I'll right click over here, choose add, mention the field's name, let's say enrollment ID. Select the variable of student enrollment number and click on OK and save. Similarly, I'm going to add again for the others, like campus. So I'm going to choose, drag and drop this campus, right click over here, mention the field name to be campus, select the variable for campus, click on OK, save. Now guys, this step is going to repeat until we cover all our variables. So let's just keep covering all our variables one after the other. Now I'm going to extract my student name. So that is, I'm going to drag my mouse over here, right click, choose add field, mention name as my field name, mention student name as the variable, click on OK and save. Now again I have to click on add, and then I have to choose total amount, right? So I'm going to drag my mouse over here, right click over here, mention the variable name to be total amount, mention amount as field name and click on OK and click on save. Similarly, I'm going to do that for my fee mode. So I'm going to mention my fee mode, right click over here again, mention mode of payment, select variable, that is fee mode payment, click on OK, click on save again. Now again I'm going to do the same for grade, add field again, and then I'll just say student grade, select variable grade, click on OK and save. And now since all our variables have been covered, I'll just click on save and this is done. Now once all the data has been extracted, what has to be done is it has to be stored in specific values, right? In specific cells of the Excel sheet, right? So to do that, what you have to do is you'll have to go to the Excel command. And then what you have to do is you'll have to set values and then move your active cells to the next cells, right? So you'll have to set values, and let's say we've set our specific active cell to be of receipt number. So we'll just press on Control F2, choose first value to be stored, that is receipt number, click on insert and save. Now what I'll do is I'll go one cell towards the right so that I store the next value of the same PDF. So I'll just drag before the loop ends. And now I'll just drag and drop, go to cell over here and choose one cell towards the right and click on save. Now similarly, I'll have to do this for all the variables. So let's just drag and drop the set cell action again. Now over here, after the receipt number, I want the transaction ID to be saved. So I'll choose a transaction ID variable. I'll click on save and then I'll choose go to cell and then one cell towards the right. So these two have to come before the loop ends. Now similarly, all the actions have to come before the loop ends. So I'm going to do it quick now. So I'll drag set to cell again, and then I want student enrollment number to be saved. Click on insert, save. All right. Now you'll have to again go one cell towards the right and click on save, right? Similarly, you'll have to again drag the set cell option, and let's say we want to choose the student name. So I'll mention student name, click on save, and then again drag the go to cell option and choose one cell towards the right. Similarly, I'll drag the set cell option, and let's say we want to choose the grade, right? So we'll choose grade and then click on save. And again, drag the go to cell option, go to one cell towards the right and click on save. Similarly, I'll drag the set cell command again. And now let's say, we want to save the campus. I'll click on insert, I'll save. I'll again go to cell, and then I'll choose one cell towards the right and click on save. Now I'll again drag the set cell option. And let's say we want to save the total amount. So I'll search for total amount, click on insert, save, then go to cell and one cell towards the right and save again. Similarly, I'll drag the set cell option and then I'll finally save the fee payment, basically the fee mode payment. I'll click on save and then choose go to cell and choose one cell to the below. This is because this is the final value that will be stored for one PDF. After that, to iterate the same thing for other PDFs, what you have to do is you'll have to go to the next cell and then go to the beginning of the row, right? So we'll go one cell below, and then what I'll do is I'll again drag go to cell and choose beginning of the row. So with that, will be good enough to store the data of different PDF documents into a single CSV file into different rows, right? This has to basically come at the end so that we finish the loop, and then I'll just click on save. Now once the task has been saved, one more thing that you have to change is in the PDF integration command. If you just observe, you've just mentioned the PDF name to be of a single PDF. But yes, we want all the PDFs in a specific folder to be taken into account, and from there all the data has to be extracted and stored into a CSV file, right? So for that, what you'll do is you'll remove the file name and you'll use the variable of file name, that is Control F2. If you search for file name, you'll get the variable file name. You can click on insert, and then if you just save your task, you're good to go to execute this task, right? So let me just close this data.csv file. I'm just going to run. So I'm just going to execute this task. And once the task is getting executed, you'll see that, automatically data will be filled into the Excel file. So you can see that, automatically the data from the 3 PDF documents that were present in that particular folder, that is the sample PDF folder, are filled into our CSV file. So that's how, guys, you can automate tasks on PDF documents and also integrate the Excel commands with the PDF commands, right? So these are a few automation examples, guys, where you must have learned how to use the different commands in Automation Anywhere and how you can automate simple tasks to complex tasks. So guys, that's all from my side today. I hope you found this session informative. If you have any further queries related to the session, please comment in the comment section below. Thank you and happy learning.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!